And I'm Marshall, and this is Twin Cinema.
Alright, so we're going to start going forward with a new format where before we had done one video for each movie review individual and then had the comparison. Now we're going to combine the two videos of each movie into just one video and then have the second video for each cycle be the comparison review. So we feel like that's going to make things a little easier, a little shorter, not as much different things to publish. So that's what we're going to do going forward. And so our theme for this cycle is going to be North Pole Dancers. And Marshall, what are the films we're going to be reviewing?
Yes, we're going to be reviewing Striptease and Showgirls.
Alright, so we're going to start off by reviewing Striptease. So we're going to start off as normal with a quick synopsis for those who haven't seen the movie, and then we'll get straight into the review.
Yep.
Striptease opens in a Fort Lauderdale courtroom where we find out that our heroine, Erin, has lost custody of her child due to her joblessness. She lost the job because of her husband because of reasons. Trying to get her child back, Erin takes a job as a stripper, dancing to some Annie Lennox deep cuts. One night, a congressman decides to hit someone on the head at Erin's club, and Erin's stalker, Jerry, tries to blackmail the congressman into helping Erin to get her kid back. The plan backfires and Jerry ends up dead, which brings in a local cop who then helps Erin. Eventually, she gets her kid back somehow. I'm not sure because it doesn't make any sense. Also, there's a bouncer with a cockroach-based get-rich scheme, a dancer with a snake, a woman who raises wolves, and some political intrigue involving sugar.
Alright, so now that we have a basic understanding of what can be described as a plot, as much as
it were,
as Striptease has one,
yeah,
we can kind of delve into it. So, Marshall, what are your kind of first impressions of Striptease?
You know, I did not go into this review series to search out specifically bad movies. I know that's what a lot of reviewers do, but that's not really anything I had interest in. And yet, the two worst films I think I've ever seen have been in service of this show. The first being our very first review, Jack and Jill, and Striptease. Striptease is probably the worst movie I have ever seen.
I have to agree. It's for so many reasons. It fails as entertainment on pretty much every level. And not in an entertaining way. I know that kind of sounds dumb to say, it fails entertainment, but not in an entertainment way. But it's you look at a movie like Manos or, Troll 2 or something like that, and they're entertaining even though they fail at entertainment. It's because that failure works. It doesn't work in this movie. And that's something I want to get into in our comparison, because I want to talk about the idea of bad movies and entertaining, but, this movie just doesn't do that.
Yeah, well, I think the problem is, unlike a film like Manos or The Room or Birdemic or any of those, celebrated can't be so bad it's good movies, Striptease has what I call Hollywood boring. It's bad in the way that only a Hollywood movie could be, wherein it tries to be all things to all people, and that just makes it not work because there's no consistent tone.
And that's cream corn wrestling.
Corn wrestling.
And I didn't even know it was supposed to be a comedy at first.
Well, does anybody know if it's supposed to be a comedy?
It doesn't feel like a comedy, and I think the problem is, it starts out with this kind of goofy scene where Erin's in court and the judge is like,
He was the finest high school tailback I ever saw.
and she just gives this look.
Well, she doesn't.
No.
The camera does.
Yeah.
Next case.
The camera does that shot that's very comedic, and yeah, throughout the film it's and especially because it seems like it's coming from two camps. I feel like Demi Moore was told something completely different from the rest of the cast.
Oh, totally.
Because the rest of the cast plays it so for laughs.
Oh, totally. Burt Reynolds especially. He is probably the best part of this movie. He's just so out there.
Yeah, but it's you have Demi Moore acting like, I'm a mom and I need my kid back. And then you have Burt Reynolds, who's like, I'm a crazy politician. And I will say this, the Burt Reynolds thing did give like a very, very good visual gag whenever, because he's a Republican and, you know, he's supposed to be the family values candidate and he's like a pervert is the idea. And, you know, he has that wonderful Newt Gingrich picture in the background and my God, it's been over 20 years and that still is funny.
It's never going to happen again, Malcolm. I've got it under control. You see, I just love naked women.
Most of the movie, I don't really feel there's that many comedic scenes. Mostly it just feels like a Lifetime original movie, especially with like the 90s like sentimental strings, what I call it. It feels like you're watching a made-for-TV movie with a slightly better budget, but then there's also the strippers. You know, there's plenty of naked women, and it's like, I guess that's for the guys, and I guess the relation, you know, the mother-daughter relationship is for the girls.
And you have that, and then you also have like this political thriller, and it's like kind of an action movie of sorts, but not really. And, you know, this was based off a book.
Yeah.
I kind of want to read the book now.
I do too, because I'll be honest, the premise of the film could have worked really well. Like this, you know, it could be this really taut drama about, you know, Demi Moore's character, like, trying to get her daughter back in, like, this really sexist, ridiculous kind of, you know, situation she's in. Or, honestly, what I'd really like to do is follow Burt Reynolds' character as this guy just so obviously going through a breakdown.
What is with Annie Lennox?
Totally, no. I mean, I love Annie Lennox, and I don't know how much experience you have with straight strip clubs. I have only been to one because I was friends with a stripper. And, you know, the kind of dance routines that she do, they're very good. I mean, she's a marvelous dancer. But they would not fly in a strip club.
I mean, there's that song that says, like,
Dying is easy, it's living that scares me to death.
No, totally. It's like, who wants to go to a strip club to go be sad? You're already sad if you're going to a strip club.
You know, I do have a friend who DJs at strip clubs, and he says, you know, if the dancer makes a lot of money, you know, or is, you know, really pretty or something like that, she has a lot more sway over what music she dances to. So, like, maybe because Demi Moore is so gorgeous, like, that's kind of what you could say. But still, like, you see these dudes, like, going crazy for her when she's dancing to these really depressing songs.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I mean, yeah, she's really, really gorgeous, but still. Also, but my question is, why Annie Lennox? Like, is it the director? Was Demi Moore like, I'm only doing this movie if I can dance Annie Lennox? I mean, there's that one scene when she's dancing in her underwear to the Annie Lennox song, and it just goes on and on and on, and you're like, did Annie Lennox, like, music labels, like, this would be a great way to promote your music, Annie?
Not that she doesn't have, like, some sexy songs or whatever, but, you know, she always seems a bit more cerebral. And I guess maybe that's it. I think there's a lot of shorthand to kind of show that even though they're not, like, it's not a film that, like, disparages strippers, it kind of shows that Erin's above it. She's artistic. I mean, her first thing, she doesn't even show her breasts. I mean, she, I think it's like, what, 2 or 3 minutes before she even takes off her, like, her shirt. And it's really more like a burlesque show than it is a, you know, a striptease for the kind of strip club it is. It's very sexy. And I could definitely see there's definitely a clientele, a straight clientele for it, but not the kind who would go to a place called Eager Beaver.
Yeah, it just, the whole thing doesn't seem to make any sense, so. You know, I mean, other than that, like, I can't really say much more about the plot. It's so by the numbers, there's intrigue, you know, like, there's a showdown, the good guys win, she gets her kid back. It's just, the other thing is, like, the movie is just so boring, and it's so long, and there's so many subplots that don't need to exist.
Oh, totally. I mean, it feels like it's more subplot than plot, honestly.
Like, again, the bouncer.
Yeah, like all his stupid little schemes, and I get that he does that to get him in league with the lawyer, but I feel like the lawyer doesn't really go anywhere.
you know, why is a lawyer brought in? All Jerry had to do would be to, you know, just go to Dilbeck himself, and we could have skipped that whole thing. And, you know, that doesn't make any sense. And then they're like, even the things that kind of help improve your idea of the character just go on too long. Like that scene where Dilbeck is giving like the young Christian conservative speech, and it's like, you know, these people are up on stage talking about family values, and then he's in the back like rubbing himself in oil, like sniffing a piece of lint for, you know, an exotic dancer. Like, okay, that, you know, it shows like how duplicitous he is, right? But it doesn't need to go on for as long as it does. Like, it's funny, sure. We don't need to go on and on about it.
Totally.
So, okay, so we've kind of gone on and on about, you know, what we don't like about this movie. Is there anything that you can say you do like about this movie?
Well, I will say as far as, you know, by the numbers it was, I do really appreciate that there's, like, no romantic subplot. Like, it really could have been easy for, you know, Demi Moore's character to fall in love with the detective. No, he's married. Everything's purely platonic. The only thing she cares about is her kid, and I do appreciate that.
I do so.
I think the cinematography is actually pretty good. And it's not amazing, but there's some really good scenes, especially when she's dancing. The choreography is great. And there's a shot that I really enjoy is when Dilbeck's aide is getting Aaron's dryer lint, and they shoot it through the laundromat. Like, they're at a laundromat and they shoot it through the washing machine. I thought that was a really good shot. So there's definitely a creative spark to it, and I could kind of see to point what they were trying to do with it. Just felt like they really missed the mark.
Yeah, you know, there's not too much I can say that's good about this. I will say, I don't want to go too much into it now because that's something I do want to talk about in the comparison video.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like there's a lot more female empowerment and, you know, like showing respect for people who dance for a living.
Yeah.
Than I think a lot of media portrays, but that's something we'll go more into in the comparison. So
Totally.
I would say overall skip this movie unless I don't even know why. There's not even really a good reason.
Just to see Demi Moore's body. I mean, that's literally the only thing. I mean, it's gorgeous.
I wouldn't recommend it. So, okay. Moving on, we're going to review Showgirls next. So, as before, we're going to start off with a quick synopsis.
Watch Nomi Malone, a drifter from different places, back east, as she tries to realize her dreams of becoming a Vegas showgirl. She achieves her dream by taking advantage of Molly, a woman she meets on the street, first by crashing at her place and eating her food, and then by using Molly's connections at a topless review. Nomi moves from the Cheetah Strip Club to a supporting role in Goddess at the Stardust. There she begins a love-hate relationship with the show's star, Crystal Connors, as well as a somewhat romantic relationship with the entertainment director of the Stardust. Eventually, Nomi pushes her way to the top by pushing Crystal down the stairs. Finally, when all of Nomi's dreams are realized and she is the star of Goddess, the opening night party happens when Molly, her friend, is brutally raped by the singer Andrew Carver. When Nomi realizes that charges won't be pressed against Andrew in order to protect the singer, she takes justice into her own hands and brutally attacks Carver right back. Then Nomi rides out of town, heading to the brighter lights of Los Angeles.
So we were saying that Striptease is my least favorite movie. Showgirls, it's not my favorite, but it's really up there. And not just in, I know most people when they say they like Showgirls, they say, oh, it's a guilty pleasure. No. I legitimately love Showgirls. Unironically, I am not joking.
Yeah, I do too. It's one of my favorites. I can watch it over and over and over
Oh,
again.
totally.
I mean, yes, it's campy. You know, it's not great because it's a great movie, but I really, you know, I don't feel guilty at all for liking it. I think it's, in its own special, specific way, a great film.
It has a lot of merits, and I think you kind of have an open mind for it, which I know is kind of weird to say, but I think a lot of people had some preconceived notions of it, especially now, because I think most people of our generation, the only thing they remember it of is when it came out, how panned it was, and then like kind of got rediscovered on like how I found about Showgirls, outside of just kind of knowing it, remembering it from the 90s, was, watching internet reviewers like make fun of how bad it was, and I was thinking, oh, it's gonna be awful, it's gonna be the worst movie ever, and then I watch it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing.
You don't know shit.
One of the things that makes it so amazing is that despite all the flaws, the movie has many, Verhoeven's grand epic vision shines through.
It does.
As is widely known, Verhoeven wanted to make an homage to the 40s musical, and with these big elaborate sets. Now, obviously, there's no singing and dancing. Well, no, sorry, there's just dancing, no singing. And, that doesn't really seem to be much of a movie trope, but I did find an early 50s or late 40s movie that really reminded me of The Red Shoes.
Yeah.
By the Archers, which is also one of my favorite movies.
Oh, it's amazing.
Also gorgeously shot, and it also features a woman who is consumed by her need to dance.
Oh, yes.
In fact, I just rewatched, because I just bought it on the Criterion sale. I just rewatched The Red Shoes, and I was watching it, I was like, holy crap, this movie is very similar to Showgirls.
I was thinking that too. I will say, I do think The Red Shoes is a better film.
Obviously.
And just about every way, but I think the thing that I get is they both have just this marvelous use of color. Both in like a very, obviously The Red Shoe uses a lot of reds in it, whereas Showgirls is like a lot of hot pinks and greens. Very neon. It kind of actually, in a lot of ways, the color palette kind of reminded me a bit of Natural Born Killers.
Well, it has to be neon. It's
Vegas. Yeah, totally.
I also appreciate both movies have the. The Red Shoes features a ballet.
Yeah.
And I would say that Goddess is also a ballet of sorts because there's no dialogue, there's no singing. It's a story completely told through dance. And much like the overarching story of The Red Shoes takes place in the opera The Red Shoes, I would say that there is definitely a show within a show of Goddess where you see some great scenes. For example, my favorite is whenever the one stripper, one dancer, sabotages the other. And as the one dancer falls, Crystal rises to the heavens. And, that one scene when Nomi makes her Goddess debut and she comes up, and it's just this triumphant thing. I just love it. I love everything about those scenes.
Oh, me too. And honestly, Showgirls has two of my favorite, just visual scenes at just about any film. One is a scene where Nomi is looking out into the Sunset Strip, and there's this giant neon sign that's flashing, and she's on her car, and it just makes me think of that scene in Star Wars with Luke just looking out into the distance. The other favorite shot, and I remember we were actually talking about this when we were watching it again, is when she's about to take revenge on...
He's coming here! Maybe you can meet him!
It's the shot of her just doing her nails, and it's the black and gold against the wood, and then she looks up and she does this, and I'm like, I don't know what it is because it's such a simple shot, but it's just beautifully done.
So, going back to that whole meta thing, because I feel like Showgirls is very meta, and the thing is, and I think one of the reasons I like it is the ambiguity of, I don't know if it's on purpose or not.
I don't know either.
What you're doing, at least it's honest. They want tits and ass, you give them tits and ass. Here, they pretend they want something else, and you still show them tits and ass.
There's this whole thing, and he's like, what you're doing in Goddess, it's so, fake, you think it's art, but it's really just porn, or, stripping or whatever, and he's like, come do mine, and it, come do my show, right? And then you go see his show, and his show really isn't any different than Goddess. I mean, who are you trying to kid, dude? You're in a, club.
Yeah.
And the whole point is you're still focusing on, naked women. And I think that's really ironic because, I mean, that's exactly what this movie is. Verhoeven is trying to do this, you know, this grand epic movie, but really the whole thing focuses on the idea of you're going to look at, like, you know. So I just find it really ironic that there's just like great meta commentary.
Oh, totally. You know, another thing that's kind of an inversion on is this is treated like a morality.
I said you look like Pollyanna.
I mean, Naomi Malone, I mean, I think she's actually supposed to be talented. I don't think she's quite as good as everyone makes her out to be. Not that I'm an expert. But I mean, she's not an ingenue. She's young, but she's very worldly. She's manipulative. She is selfish, self-centered, impulsive. She just does so many cruddy things all throughout the thing. She takes advantage of her friend. She pushes Crystal down the stairs. Granted, part of it's just like she's doing what she can to survive in this world, but she doesn't really have a crisis of faith about it. She's just like, well, this is what I gotta do.
So it really tries to like make it seem like there's a crisis of faith.
But there's not really.
Well, like, I think the big scene is like, really the big scene is when she go home with Kyle MacLachlan's character, and she does the cocaine.
Yeah.
That's like, and that's why she's so seduced, and she can push Crystal on the stairs, because she never would have done that before. You know, you'd seen this fall from grace, and she's been seduced. So, I mean, again, is it on purpose? Is it not? What's Verhoeven's point? Because on one hand, it's like, okay, so you can look at it and say she was never seduced, but then I could also like just easily see Verhoeven being like, oh no, she totally was. Look at these things. Look at, you know, what she does. You know, but at the same token, it's hard to feel sorry for someone who like literally everybody bends over backwards the moment they see her.
Oh, totally. And she does, what does she do for any of them?
She eats cheeseburgers.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, like, and the thing is, like, unlike a morality play, where the worse the character is, the bigger the punishment they have. Or redemption, I guess. In Showgirls, the worse the character is, the more scot-free they get. Because look at the bad guys in it. Crystal Connor is kind of conniving, kind of self-centered, but she's not really that bad. She's just kind of trying to do what she can to survive. Yeah, her head gets broken, she can't perform, but she gets a nice settlement. And she kind of knew it was going to happen anyway. She was getting on in years. Nomi, you know, is only a star for like one show or something, but she doesn't have to face any like legal repercussions of what she does. The singer, even though he does get beat up, he doesn't get prosecuted. He's not going to lose any money unless he dies, and we don't see if he does or not. He's just continually able to abuse and prey on women. And then worst is Kyle MacLachlan's character, Zach, and the other executives for the Stardust and other hotels who enable abuse, prostitution, rape, all these things. They exploit their workers. Nothing happens to them. They're fine. Excuse me. Who gets the worst of it? Molly. The nicest, most pure character in it.
Yeah, the only likable character in the entire movie.
Yeah.
I mean, trust me, I love Crystal. I love Crystal as a character to watch on screen, but she's not a likable person.
No, I would never want to know Naomi Malone in real life.
And again, the question is like, is that on purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Like, was that commentary? What is commentary? What isn't commentary? It's so pointedly apparent that there is supposed to be commentary. But what is the commentary supposed to be? And I think that's what makes Showgirls such a great piece of art, because it is so ambiguous.
It is, I would just say it's the great cinematic enigma of this day. I think hundreds of years from now, we will have philosophers arguing, the many different merits of Showgirls. I could definitely see a religion populated solely of gay men.
Oh, he's so hetero and wants everybody to see how hetero he is.
Molly, could you bring that flashlight over here? I want to see how big it is.
You know, I will say Showgirls is something you should watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a rare thing where I say you should watch, you get the special edition and watch the commentary, because the commentary is done by some guy out of Seattle, and it's hilarious.
It's amazing.
But you should watch it first without the commentary. But,
Of course.
you know, I love Showgirls. It is one of my favorites. So, and you know what? I'm really excited to talk about, in our next video, I'm really excited to talk about the movies together, because I think these movies could not be more similar and so different.
Oh, totally.
Like, between the, like, drawing, like, the name power of the actresses, the way in which, like, exotic dancing is portrayed, and the ideas of camp. I think there's going to be a lot to
There's
explore.
a lot to talk about.
So
we're going to have a field day.
Yeah, so, I mean, next week is going to be Alcohollywood's On Tap podcast, which you should listen to. Link here. And then the following week is going to be our comparison review, where we're going to go into these two movies and talk about them side by side. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Alcohollywood's YouTube and Facebook channels. Links are here. All right, and we'll see you guys in a few weeks.
See ya.
Tricks in a shimmy.